This video is sponsored by MPB. Now I know that viewfinders are important to a lot of people. It's a deal breaker for a lot of people. And so I thought I would make a list of the best tiny cameras with viewfinder for all budgets. So we're talking like under 150 quid all the way up to silly money. So there's something here for everyone. The only criteria is it should be photocentric and it should be great for street photography or documenting your day-to-day life. Let's get stuck in with the cheapest options first. Let's start with the Camp Snap Pro. This is very plastic fantastic and very entry level and just not designed to be taken too seriously, hence the price tag of around £80. You have loads of JPEG filters built in and it's just designed to go out and document your life without thinking too deeply about it. There's no screen to review your images, so it's kind of like a cheap filmic experience. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? It's not a serious camera, but it is fun. And I wouldn't be the camera nerd I am if I didn't bring up the Pentax Optio S. It has the world's tiniest little viewfinder. It's like a box of matches. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you can pick these up really cheaply in the used market. Not to be taken too seriously, it is quite dated, but if you are a camera collector like I am, it's one for the collection for sure. I love Pentax, they do weird stuff. Let's move on to some actually usable bargains. And I bought it not long ago from MPB, and I hadn't really heard much about this camera until I took a punt on it. It's so cheap. Why not? It seems right up my alley. It's really, really cool. The sensor is pretty small and it has a really cool Leica branded lens. It has a 28 to 200mm lens. And when you consider how absolutely pocketable that is, it's really interesting indeed. There's a built-in flash for those sort of retro vibes. And I think it's an underdog. It's a line of cameras that Lumix sort of did a one and done with and didn't continue it. So there's only one of it and that's probably why it slips under the radar. But if you're looking for a bargain, I'm quite glad that I've added it to my collection. And such is the way with the Lumix and Leica collaborations. This is rebadged as a Leica C camera, which to this day still goes for like 2 or 3 times the price. I've had such a stressful day and my usual microphone ran out of battery, but I only noticed like 45 minutes into filming. So I'm driving myself insane today. So I thought I'd choose some silly angles. Okay, I'm going up here. To this day, the Olympus EM5 is some of the best bang for buck you can get for a small camera with an EVF. You can still get them consistently for around 200 quid, and they are rugged. The original ones are made with like magnesium alloy. It's a timeless design that Olympus/OM system used to this blooming day, but they've switched to more plasticky materials, so in some ways the older ones are better. It was the first Micro Four Thirds camera to get IBIS in 2012. For the spec and the style, I think it's a marvellous one. It's really small as well. And just 1 year later, Lumix joined the IBIS race with the Lumix GX7, and this is a little bit bigger. I think it's the first camera to have one of those crazy articulating EVFs. The mechanical shutter is loud and annoying, but genuinely kind of satisfying. Got some really good photos around Corfu with this last year. It's a lovely, lovely option and really well priced. And the best two in this category, in my opinion, is the Lumix GX85 and the Lumix G100. The Lumix GX85 you can still pick up for around 350 quid. You can get it in this cool orangey brown colour as well. And I think it ticks a lot of boxes for most people. It has IBIS, it has 4K video, it has an articulating screen, it has an EVF. It has all the good stuff that you look for. And it's pretty much bang for buck for a long time now, the best spec you can get in this category. The G100 is conversely plastic fantastic. It does have a 20 megapixel sensor versus a 16 megapixel sensor, but you lose the IBIS. You do get a mic input, but otherwise I would be picking the GX85 any day of the week. And in this next category, I'm picking just 3 beautiful cameras. We have the LX100 or the LX100 Mark II, but I have the LX100 original. It's very tactile, very small, beautiful high quality lens. If you want the Mark II, you will pay a little bit more, but literally all you get is a bump in megapixels and a touchscreen. Personally, I like the LX100 for the bargain hunters. And then these are sort of lumped together. These two, in terms of spec, should be a lot higher up in the list. But for some reason, either the ones above it are overpriced or these are underpriced, whichever way you want to deal with it. I'm thinking about the Lumix GX8 and GX9. They're very similar cameras. The GX8 is more video focused and it is weather sealed. The GX9 isn't weather sealed, but it has spec for spec. It's basically a Pen F, just a slightly uglier one. And you can get it for a heck of a lot cheaper. It was the first Micro Four Thirds camera to have organic grain. So you could take 10 photographs in a row if you've got the grain setting on, and it'll change the grain pattern as you shoot. If you really want a Pen F, but you look at the price and go, oh my God, then the GX9 is the way to go. And speak of the devil, the Olympus Pen F, it's very expensive, but it is basically a one of a kind at this point. I would give a kidney for a Mark II. Spec-wise, as I say, it's very similar to the GX9, but it's arguably the most sexy Micro Four Thirds camera ever made. I think that would be my pick, for sure. It's pretty much the perfect size for an everyday carry. The EVF is rangefinder style, very, very swish. Customizable JPEGs, you know the drill. If you're a camera nerd, you know of the Pen F. It's one of my all-time favourite cameras. MPB are the best place for you to start blooming looking if any of these cameras have caught your eye. It's the world's largest platform for buying, selling and trading all of your camera equipment. I use them all the time. In fact, the vast majority of everything on this list I've bought from MPB, personally. But you don't just buy from them, you can also sell and trade, and that's really interesting. If you like to learn about different cameras and maybe try a couple of different ones, particularly the kind of cameras that I've spoke about in this list where they do hold their value over time, you can trade your camera back to MPB and then pick something else that you fancy. And the actual process is super simple. You just put the model in and the condition, and then you get an instant quote. I've used it all the time, more for buying than selling because I am a camera hoarder, but both ways works wonderfully. They've been a long-term supporter of this channel, and if you would like to check them out, I have UK, EU and US links in the description. Thank you to MPB, and let's get back to the nerdiness. And a camera that absolutely in no universe should be in this tier is the Lumix GM5. The prices on the used market at the moment are utterly unhinged. I adore this camera, don't get me wrong. I love it so much I have two of them. I panic bought them. It's gorgeous. It's the world's smallest interchangeable lens camera with an EVF. It's made of magnesium alloy. It's super duper premium. I've made many a video about this camera. It's stunning, but I paid under £400 for both of my copies. Now you're looking at twice that, maybe. The sad reality is I think there's such a demand for these sort of cameras and a finite amount of them on the used market, and that just drives the price up and up and up and up. This is weird. I would not recommend buying this camera unless you have a abundance of money, because you are objectively paying way more than you should. But if you're a collector and you find a bargain, jump at it, because they're very scarce and they're amazing. This is the Canon G5X Mark II, and I'm relatively new to the Canon arena. I fell in love with the PowerShot V1 last year and thought, you know what, I should check out some more blooming Canons, so I've loaned this kindly from MPB. The reason it caught my eye is it's a last of its kind once again, and there's a lot of those in these lists. When mobile phones started to get super duper popular, these premium small cameras with EVFs just withered away. This is the last one that has an EVF in the Canon line, the premium compacts that I can see. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it has one of those stupidly over-spec'd setups like the Sony RX100 series, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. In fact, if you're looking at that one, also check this one out because they're very similar. It has a stacked sensor. It shoots 30 frames a second. It has great autofocus, and it's a really premium built compact camera. Blooming hell, do you pay for it? But these are just getting few and far between at the moment, so it is what it is, unfortunately. Editing Emily from the future, I was just losing my mind trying to entertain myself with all these different camera angles, but I actually really like this one. I might use this one for future videos, as you were. And then, of course, the Sony RX100V. I mean, there's like 7 of them, so pick any. But the RX100V is the one that I tried and loved. It's a good sweet spot. I have a dedicated video that goes through all the nuances and which ones are worth buying and which ones maybe aren't. But the 5 is great. It has a stacked sensor just like the previous Canon. It's tiny. It has like the pop-up EVF like the previous Canon. It's incredibly pocketable. It has phase detect, autofocus and tracking. It shoots decent 4K. They really don't make them like they used to. And then the only way that they do is they charge a shed load of money for it, because it's really hard to get something so small and so feature rich. Let's move on to the next tier, the £1,000 plus. Let's start off with a camera that slightly disappointed me but is worth thinking about, the OM5 Mark II from OM System. The reason it disappointed me is that it's not much of an upgrade from the original OM5, so maybe check that out as well. It is good in some ways. It does have phase detect autofocus, but with no subject detection. Camera is completely weather sealed, so as long as you have a weather sealed lens, you can literally walk through waterfalls with it. Well, I sincerely hope that both of these cameras are as weather sealed as they say. And the reason it disappointed me is it was just so close to being great. Like, give me 10-bit video and some form of subject detection, and this could have been a perfect hybrid camera. As it stands, it's a very decent photocentric camera with a very hefty price tag. If you wanted to look for an OM System camera that has solved those problems, look no further than the OM3, one of my personal favourite everyday carry cameras, and unfortunately the blooming biggest camera on this list. It is a chunky boy. It's not necessarily tall, but it is wide, but it's very stylish. It is built like a tank, unlike the OM5 Mark II. It does have 10-bit video, unlike the OM5 Mark II. It has a stacked sensor and all of the subject detection that you could hope for. So you can use this as an everyday carry, but then go out and take photographs of puffins in Iceland, which is exactly what I've done with it. Now that it's like sort of sizzled down a bit, like it came out a bit hot price-wise. Now it's calmed down a bit, I do think this is a genuine contender. It's possibly the second sexiest Micro Four Thirds camera ever made, after the Pen F. But I do wish it was a bit smaller. I do. And then the king, arguably, of the everyday carry arena, the Fujifilm X100VI. It has the best viewfinder I've used on any camera, because you can switch it from guided optical, is what I'll call it, where you can see the optical straight through, but you have like guidelines on the screen with your settings. It's so cool and so futuristic. And then you can turn it into a traditional EVF as well. If you are looking specifically for a good viewfinder, this is the best one I've ever used. And then you have all the other bells and whistles. It's a very tactile experience. You have excellent Fujifilm recipes and JPEG customization. It's got a big enough sensor that you can punch in convincingly. So even though it is a fixed 35mm lens, you can make it more versatile by punching in. It's good stuff. It's still a bit scarce. It's not budged remotely in price, to the point where I think it's either the same price as new or a little bit more, which is cheeky. But it is a really good option, and it's popular for a reason. And then the new man in town, the Lumix L10. I've made many a video on this recently, so I shan't linger too much. It's a fixed lens with a 24 to 75mm equivalent zoom. It's very versatile. You have real-time LUT, so it's great for photography. It has a gorgeous OLED EVF, and it's very stylish as well. It's a bit pricey, but I do think if you're looking for an everyday carry that's special and versatile, and you don't have to edit your photos, it's a really, really good option. Editing Emily from the future again, I forgot the Pixie camera, which is definitely earning a place in the stupidly expensive and a bit niche category. It doesn't have a screen, but it does have a viewfinder. I did a full video on this if you'd like to see more, but it's very expensive, very interesting, and possibly a little bit not quite ready yet. But I'm excited to see where this line of cameras goes in the future. Okay, as you were. And then out of the expensive tier and into the insane tier, this one is in a category all of its own, because it's the most expensive tiny camera that I've ever used and reviewed. And even though it's not something that I would personally ever invest in, it definitely earns a place on this list because it does meet the criteria. This is the Sony RX1R3. I think I said that right. It's £3,799 at the moment. Prices, fluctuate, but that's what it is. So it's like 3 times the price of a lot of the cameras that I've just spoken about. It's the only full frame camera on this list, so excellent. It does have an EVF, but there's so many compromises to get that massive sensor into this tiny body. It's a feat of engineering, but there's no optical stabilization. There's no IBIS. The video functions are just non-existent. What else? The battery life is criminally bad. It's a very underpowered battery. The screen at the back doesn't articulate when a lot of the older versions did. But I will say it's a 61 megapixel Sony sensor in all of its full frame glory. So it is stunning. The image quality is really blooming good. And it feels special to hold. It feels very, very premium indeed. But you're only really going to want that if sensor size is the be all and end all of your discussion, because that's the only thing going for it. I mean, it's like a 10-plus-year-old lens that they've not updated. It's only f2. So a lot of like the bokeh that you would get from the full frame advantage is negated anyway. I just wasn't overly impressed for the price, but I do appreciate that it's incredibly cool and like an absolute feat of engineering. But it's not my cup of tea. I'm a bit of a cheapskate. Well, it's not really that I'm a cheapskate. I just want value for money. That's all. I want good value for money. Everything on this list, I've either said is good value or bad value, and hopefully you find that helpful. This is bad value. B-A-D. Value. So I hope you found this list helpful. I'm sorry that I've been a little bit eclectic with my angle choices. I've really had a very stressful day. But it's been a joy as ever to go through Camera Nerd Lane with you. If you would like to check out any of the dedicated videos, I've linked them all in the description. And I hope you have a lovely day.